peptides are just short chain of amino acids that target a particular function. For example, let's say you need to take a certain peptide to heal your gut, or heal muscles and tendons, or burn fat, or add a little muscle. They're very specific and targeted, whereas hormones are kind of like the big army that kind of just works systemically, for mood, health, libido, and keeping you young, because we lose hormones as we age. But the peptides are more like the special forces. They go in and they target a particular and specific duty, and then, whether it's to heal you or to make you, skin, develop collagen, grow some hair, whatever it is. That's why we have so many peptides out there. But they're basically just amino acids that tell the body to do something.
So many people lose their libido as they get older and don't understand why. And this just really helps with testosterone. What does it give you?
So for men and women, it helps with the energy, the fatigue, the brain fog, libido, adding lean muscle again, and having the motivation. It's a really good mood enhancer too. So I get a lot of ladies off antidepressants, etc. But I think you hit a point there, is like hormone replacement therapy and even testosterone really saves a lot of relationships, because as we age, we get older and we kind of forget about these things. In our relationship, we just kind of, no, could I have sex today? Maybe, but we want to have that drive so you can reclaim the intimacy with your partner. I think it's so important that happens.
Welcome back to another episode of Uncut and Uncensored. And you asked, we listened, and today I am here with Dr. Asandra, my longevity doctor, all the way in Beverly Hills. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Caroline.
Well, this is one of the biggest questions, and I'm one of these people that asks as little questions for myself. If someone tells me it's good for me, I'm in. So we met a few years ago now.
Yeah, it's been
a while.
And I'm
trying to remember how. Who introduced us?
I think Sharon introduced us.
Sharon, that's it. That was it, because I went to a lunch with a follower who is older. She's 50 or in her 50s.
Yes.
And she's very proud about it. And she walked in and she looked like she was in her, early 40s, that's for sure. She looks unbelievable, ripped, hair, just everything. And I was like, oh my God, have you frozen yourself? And she said to go to you.
Yes.
Since then, I think I have recommended every friend to you as well. It's just annoying you're not in Dubai. But you really do turn back the time. And I'm 50 this year. And one of the biggest questions I get is, how do I look like this? And what am I taking? Why am I taking them? Are they dangerous? So this is we're going to open the book today and ask you everything. So
beautiful.
There's so many questions, I don't even know where to start, frankly. I think the number one thing I get questions about is, as a generation, people aren't used to injecting things and get very frightened about things that they're putting into their body. There's a lot online about, speeding up cancers and all of these things. And people are very, very nervous about peptides. Can you just explain what they are, how they work, and these kind of things?
Sure. So, I treat we do hormone therapy along with peptides. And I kind of think you have to do kind of it all to really slow down the aging process and extend your life. So, peptides are just short chain of amino acids that target a particular function. For example, let's say you need to take a certain peptide to heal your gut, or heal muscles and tendons, or burn fat, or add a little muscle. They're very specific and targeted, whereas hormones are kind of like the big army that kind of just works systemically, for mood, health, libido, and keeping you young, because we lose hormones as we age. But the peptides are more like the special forces. They go in and they target a particular and specific duty, and then, whether it's to heal you or to make you, skin, develop collagen, grow some hair, whatever it is. That's why we have so many peptides out there. But they're basically just amino acids that tell the body to do something.
It feels like a bit of a minefield, right? Because I think, they've just sort of exploded lately. And, I always feel that the medical industry, sometimes gets behind all of these things later, because it's in their interest to keep people fat and balding and sick and overweight and depressed, because, happy people don't need antidepressants and don't need, don't have heart disease and all of these things. And I think that people need to have a good look at why these things aren't so widely used or available to people. And they probably will be eventually. There's just so many coming out now, and people have really got, the wellness trend is so big. But I think you're right. It really starts with hormone replacement. And as a woman, I'm totally surprised by how many women don't understand that that's even available.
Right.
And that, obviously, having done a lot of these podcasts before, that perimenopause is 8 years. Is it 8 years or 6 years?
It depends on the person. Yeah.
Can be up to 8 years. And you're losing all of these hormones. And I actually take testosterone, estrogen, and what's the other one?
Oh, progesterone.
Progesterone.
Yes.
Okay, so let's just start with hormones that we lose as women as we get older. Because another thing, myth, I think, is the testosterone. I get so many sort of rolled eyes going, how can you take testosterone? You're going to end up with like a mustache and, muscles. So can you explain why women need to be taking these things?
Yes.
And actually, if I take all of these things during perimenopause, I can extend that phase, or I can roll back out of menopause. Is that right?
Yeah, you don't go through you don't suffer from the effects of menopause, because once you go through that, your body really starts to age quickly.
But I'm still going through it, or I'm reversing it?
Well, you're kind of staving it off, and you're eventually your ovaries shut down.
Right.
There's no way around that, unless we, maybe there's some stem cell therapy in the future where we inject it right there and restart it. But no matter what, you're going to stop producing hormones as you age and you go through menopause, and the factory in your ovaries just shuts down. Just like men, we lose testosterone as we age. But I think the way to look at it is you really need to look at monitoring your hormones and really following it as you start feeling these symptoms. Your libido goes down, you start gaining more weight, you're more irritable, etc. Your menstrual cycle changes. All these things is something I think women need to pay attention to, and then really address it correctly.
Actually, I read the other day the highest rate of divorce is during menopause.
And job changes too.
And job changes.
Yeah.
And I think, I always say to friends of mine who are like, I'm sick of my 20-year-old husband. I'm like, check your hormones before you do anything.
Right.
Anything drastic, because, you are so sensitive and susceptible, and it is so normal. There's so little known. I think, again, just these kind of hormones have been sort of made to feel like we're doing something wrong. And testosterone, I think, had a really bad rap, because I remember when I came to you, and, people think of it as bodybuilders and gyms who are overly stimulating themselves to get ridiculous results. That's not what we're trying to achieve here. You're trying to go back to what the body was producing before.
Correct. I think what happens is there became a myth, that, and the reason more women haven't done it, but I think they're starting to now, is because of the whole Women's Health Initiative study that we had way back in the early 2000s, right?
So I think, I get a lot of that, like, we are not going above normal testosterone levels. We're replacing them to exactly what they were when we were younger. And, I think sexual health for women as well, and for men, because men and women need to look at these things, it's really fantastic for your relationship as well, because
Absolutely.
So many people lose their libido as they get older and don't understand why. And this just really helps with testosterone. What does it give you?
Yeah, so for men and women, it helps with the energy, the fatigue, the brain fog, libido, adding lean muscle again, and having the motivation. It's a really good mood enhancer too. So I get a lot of ladies off antidepressants, etc. But I think you hit a point there, is like it. Hormone replacement therapy and even testosterone really saves a lot of relationships, because as we age, we get older and we kind of forget about these things. In our relationship, we just kind of, could I have sex today? Maybe, but we want to have that drive so you can reclaim the intimacy with your partner. I think it's so important that happens.
And, especially in long-term relationships, so many times people go, well, I just got used to it. But I think, when you change your hormones and you realize that it's like the key into a relationship, and I always say that, it's what bonds you, what connects you. Otherwise, you have a roommate. I think once you start your hormone replacement, for men as well, ladies, go and check your husbands. And it all starts, by the way, with a blood test. So, they're not prescribing willy-nilly. It is a blood test for you, and then you're prescribed. So, I would say run into doing it. From the age of 35, your hormones are declining at a very rapid rate.
They are. And even if you have more stress, if you have health problems, if you're on medications, it's going to go down even faster. And that's why I think these days, I feel like we're unhealthier than we were 30, 40 years ago. And people are starting to get fatigued sooner. They feel older faster. And it's all the stress that we have and the environmental factors. So it's really important that if you start feeling these types of symptoms that you go to your doctor. And this isn't something you just take. It's not a one size fits all. It really has to be tailored to the person. And that's why I'm following blood work so closely throughout the journey with all my men and women to make sure that we get them to the right levels. We're not overdosing them and then they get side effects, but we want to get it right in the sweet spot so they feel and look their best.
I think also from there, you see, then you can get the peptides that are tailored to you. I think the most common one that everyone is on right now or talking about is the pretty peptide, Glow.
Yes.
And I think that was the first one you started me on. And what a difference. Like, as somebody who's always suffered with sort of drier skin, I was, I do TV, so I was, getting a lot of sort of thinning in my hair from having my hair pulled into ridiculous hairstyles all the time. It was the one thing that brought my hair back. My nails are strong, and within 48 hours, my skin was glowing.
Yes.
Can you explain this one? Because that's everyone. I mean, actually, after doing the radio show the other day, more than anything, people were asking me about the Glow peptide I was talking about and what's in the Glow, because I think there's 2 or 3 in mine.
So Glow is also known as, basically it's copper peptide, or GHKCU. Copper peptide is great. Anytime you add copper to the body in the right amounts, it's going to help heal the body, stimulate collagen, stimulate protein to synthesize better. And that's why your hair and skin starts looking better with that. And I usually advise people doing it, before and after surgeries as well, so that your scars heal better.
What age could you start that one? Because a lot of younger people have problems with hair, and they've asked me, and I'm actually not sure.
Yeah, it's going to depend on the person. I think I don't really start people until they're in their 30s or so. I think when you're in your 20s, you're still there's a lot of things that are happening still, and that's why you really need to be seen by a doctor. But I think, when we're getting to our middle ages, et cetera, and menopause, and men get older, it's really important that we stop the aging process. And I think the copper peptides really help with that.
And how long can you take this for?
Yeah, it's really hard to say with the injectable because the data's not really out there, but it was used initially as a topical. So a lot of people use it topically to help their skin. But I usually suggest people do it for maybe 2 or 3 months, take a couple, maybe a month or 2 break, and then restarting it again. And it's going to depend on your goals, how you want your skin and hair to look, et cetera. So it's really going to depend on the person.
And then if you're building it out, so let's say, because I'm the patient, so you can do what I'm on. So we've got copper for me. I take
you take some NAD. I know you do.
Yes. So NAD plus.
Yes.
How long can I take that for? What results will that give me?
Mm-hmm. So NAD is so your mitochondria are really the powerhouse of the cells, and the NAD is almost like recharging those batteries, right? And we lose the NAD as we age. Usually after 30, 35, it really starts to decline. But by replacing it, that's where we start having the energy again. It has an anti-inflammatory effect. People feel younger. They have more mental clarity with it.
By the anti-inflammatory, is that so I used to blow up if I ate the wrong foods and, travel and all of this. It just helps regulate that in my body?
Yes, helps your body regulate other things better, your metabolism, et cetera. It really helps kind of regulate the body and restore kind of the youthfulness that it was missing from before. It's like I said, it's recharging your batteries so your body runs more efficiently overall.
And for something like I'd been reading a lot lately, so I wanted to try. Oh, also, sorry, back into the Glow. Those BP.
Yeah, there's BPC 157.
What's that? I've read a lot about that.
Yeah, that's a great peptide for gut health, but it also stimulates healing. So a lot of people use it to heal their gut, but also for arthritis, for inflammation. And the other one is TB 500, which is very similar. It helps with healing the body. So those 2 peptides in particular, sometimes I'll use it for an acute injury. I'll use it for an acute injury. So if somebody has, a sprained elbow or, is recovering from surgery, I'll actually have them inject it near where they have that injury or where they're trying to heal quicker. But overall, we can use it systemically as well to heal our body.
I think, that one, and that comes in the Glow. You can have
That's
it all
correct.
together. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's really, really useful for digestion and
Yes.
all of these things, which again, traveling and all of that, it regulated my body. So now instead of having sort of this bloated tummy that women hate so much, I think you can keep this flat stomach. And also I feel like doing less exercise now, I'm gaining more muscle.
Yes, we're cheating
Yeah.
in some ways.
How are you cheating?
Well, I think it's all encompassing. So we really programmed your body to become more efficient. So if you do work out, you're going to get results that are twice as good as a regular workout. And so by giving the testosterone back, which helps with your lean muscle, your metabolism, your energy and motivation, it helps you deal with stress better. Overall, your body's just going to respond to that. And then we add a couple of peptides in with it. Yeah, like I said, we're almost biohacking the body into thinking it's always working out and it's running more efficiently. And, you just feel better overall and you have more strength. But if you do work out with it, the effects are enhanced even, way beyond what you'd get just not without any of that.
I mean, some of the 50-year-olds walking around LA now, and, even 60, I had somebody who's in her 60s on my retreat look just amazing. The results are incredible. And, I think this misconception that as we grow older, we need to grow older gracefully. You do not. It's nothing, I think you can take these things orally if you wanted to, but they're just not as potent.
Here's the thing. It goes back to kind of big pharma. They want you on these synthetic hormones. Let me first talk about the difference between synthetic and bioidentical. We have you on the bioidentical, meaning it's basically the exact same hormones, the twin that's already in your body exactly. When you give these synthetic hormones, that's when you start getting the side effects because the body doesn't recognize what it is. It's like, it's the Frankenstein version. It's got the, it's made from horse urine or chemicals that they can patent and therefore sell to you. They can't patent a natural hormone that's already in your body and you naturally make. But when we give you natural hormones back, your body understands it, it absorbs it better, and you get better effects with way less side effects than you would from the synthetic hormones. And so, yeah, that's something that, I tell people how, they always ask me, how long can you do this for? And I say, you should do it forever. You should, because as you age, your hormones go down, whether you're a man or a woman. And why do we want to age faster? At our age, when I was a kid, I used to think of like a 50-year-old or a person in their mid-50s, like sitting in a rocking chair and
knitting. No, 100%.
Yeah, knitting, right?
Yeah.
And with the big curly gray hair and big Coke bottle glasses. But that's not how it is anymore.
Not at all. It's crazy. And, we're really midlife, not end of life.
Correct.
And this just gives you a whole new lease of life. I was with a whole load of people that on this weekend who just couldn't believe how young I looked or my skin looked. And have never done anything. They're actually coming to you. But, I think it's getting our head around what we have been taught. And, and also, again, I think injecting yourself has such a negative connotation with people still because, obviously drug addiction and all of these things and people just, my husband struggles with it. I'm normalizing it in my house with my children and showing them everything and explaining it to them because it feels, I think people have a dirty feeling of it rather than a health feeling.
Right. Yeah, I think people, we inject insulin all the time. I think it's the best way for the body to get it because a lot of these pills and stuff that you take orally, your gut, your liver is going to kill it. And that's when it tries to fight it. And then when you're injecting it, getting over that needle phobia. I think once you do it one time or two times, you're kind of over it. I think once you realize it's not painful and it becomes a routine, then people kind of get used to it. My
girlfriends now, it's so natural for us. But if you're doing, once now we've done NAD, we've done the ones that everyone's talked about. Like what other ones would you suggest for women who want to go further and who want to, look at different peptides that are out there?
I always suggest especially for women, we want things to keep us young. So we want things that are going to stimulate growth hormone release, right? Because growth hormone, we lose it as we age. That's what keeps the fat off, keeps the lean muscle on, helps cells turn over.
Now, this is the one that there's such a misconception with, I think, with the link to cancer.
Right. And by all means, if you have cancer, I would not give it to you.
Yeah.
But it doesn't cause the cancer, right?
Right.
There's other things that can cause cancer, but I wouldn't give it to you if you have cancer. But
It can speed up
It can
things
speed
that
up.
are already in the body.
Correct.
So what I did, and what you have suggested as well, is I went for full body scans before. And again, those are things that you should do with or without Asandra, because it's something you should check once a year anyway, or
Absolutely.
whether you are predisposed to cancers or Parkinson's or any of these things. Now there are these amazing machines out there, which I think a lot of you will have heard of a company called what was our one called, Sergio? Human Longevity Clinic.
Yes.
Then there's one's called Pronovo. They're all over. You can look for one near you. And you have 3 or 4 hours of testing. They take all your blood, and then they do these special scans. They're called
MRIs.
MRIs,
Yep.
that's it, where they can detect whether you have cancerous cells or are predisposed to it.
Right.
And then you can discuss with your doctor whether these different hormones are good for you.
Right.
So I did that. And I was, told I was strong as an ox and didn't have any cancerous cells in me or genes. That's it, the gene.
Good.
So I checked all of these things, and then we started the growth hormone as well. And that will do what exactly?
Yeah. So the peptide we did for you, it's going to stimulate growth hormone release. It tells the body, the pituitary and the brain and your cells to produce more growth hormone naturally. So we're not sticking growth hormone in you. We're telling your body to make more naturally. And so therefore you kind of get the benefits of it without the side effects. Now the effects aren't as quick, but over long term, it's going to be safer. It's going to be more healthy. It's more of a marathon, not a sprint when it comes to that. But you get better sleep. You notice your nails, hair, everything grows faster. Your body heals quicker too on it. Yeah.
And then, so growth hormone, what else have I got? MOTS-C, this is the one that everyone was talking about, so I asked you for. What does that do?
So MOTS-C, again, it comes down to the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cells. And it's almost like repairing the mitochondria in the cells that you produce. Your cells are more efficient at producing energy. So I use that and a lot for people who are, insulin resistant. It helps your metabolism. People who are stuck at certain weights and they just can't break beyond it, no matter how much they're working out. I'll use MOTS-C to increase their metabolism, help with insulin sensitivity, and especially if you couple it with the GLPs, like the Ozempic type stuff, or semaglutide and all that as well.
Okay, and there we are. So going into midlife as well, women, we tend to put on weight around our bellies. I definitely suffered from this the last, 2 years ago, I think, after I'd done IVF with my husband.
Yes.
And I put on quite a lot of weight and didn't realize. And then, as any woman knows, in their mid to late 40s, it's very hard to lose. I don't care how hard you work. It is not easy. And actually, I tended to do all these very, very hard HIIT trainings and weights and all of this to get the same results as I get now, which is, I do in 20 minutes.
Right.
Not only that, I was damaging my body. I would be having my neck would go stiff from overly doing weights. Overtraining.
Yeah.
Because I was doing it every day. And now I've realized to get the same results I can do 3 times a week, much lighter, and, just home Pilates, videos, all of these things, and still get the results I want. Plus my stomach I don't hold fat there anymore.
Right.
And I think that was one of the biggest things I hated. I've always had skinny legs. I could never lose the fat around my belly. I considered liposuction, all of these things. But actually, if you don't cure the gut, and I still go to all these gut sort of spas, not spas, but medical clinics to go and reset my gut anyway. And I still believe in that. But these things just keep it on going.
Yes. And I think as we age, I always tell people, when you're 18, you could eat a whole pizza and you wouldn't put on any weight. And now as we do that, it's like everything just goes right around our stomach area. But I think with the hormones and the peptides, when all that's optimized, our bodies just works more efficiently, like we're 18 again or 21 again. And we're biohacking and cheating almost to not have to, keep all that fat on. And therefore you're healthier from that as well.
I also think that, like, so when Ozempic came out and Mounjaro came out, I thought that was one of the greatest tools ever given to mankind, frankly, because people became happier, people, you see truly obese people and, it's very hard to come back from that. Very, very hard to come back.
It's life-changing when they get on.
And, antidepressants, they are suppressants.
Oh, yeah.
You still have to deal with it eventually. Whereas I think this was the tool that gave us the greatest kickstart. But there were a lot of issues with it. I remember I didn't know one person that didn't projectile vomit on Ozempic.
Yeah.
And I haven't done that since I was 17. And that would be on like one glass of wine.
Right.
And, all of these things that were that was the side effect for me. And, I like to have a glass of wine for dinner. I don't want to not have these things. Although I got myself I found Mounjaro easier on my body.
Sure. Yeah.
But that isn't something that you can work in as a routine.
Right.
And so now you have told me about those GLP-3s, the third generation of these, which is a game changer for people because they microdose them throughout their normal life journey. And it's not just such a hit of a weight loss drug where you can't eat and you can't enjoy your life and everything has sort of, I'm going to take it this week and you just eat mouse. Explain how the new generation works.
Yeah, so now it acts on something called glucagon in the liver. So it's going to actually use your body's own fat as fuel and speeds up your metabolism on top of what, the other ones did before, suppress your appetite, slow your gut down, make you more insulin sensitive. Now we're working on glucagon as well to help your body promote faster metabolism and utilizing, the body's fat for energy instead. And they're starting to use it for inflammation too. We've noticed people say I don't feel inflamed. I don't feel as puffy. My joints feel better using this. It is still not FDA approved yet, but it can be available out there. But, the other ones are. Retatrutide. I think there's probably different ways to say it, but I say retatrutide. Yes.
Okay, so this one, whether you need to lose the weight or not, you work it in, or you only use it like you would Mounjaro when you've put on a few pounds?
Both. So I think it's going to depend on the person. Some people, to me, they tell me they use it because they're for inflammation. So they'll microdose it just for inflammation. Other people say it keeps the fat off my midsection. I can see my abs again when I use it. And then other people who are really overweight will use it for that. Most people who have tried the other ones, maybe they plateau on it and they say, oh, I'm kind of stuck. Well, that's when I'll introduce MOTS-C maybe, and then maybe if they need to introduce some hormone therapy, whatever it is, but we make the adjustments based on the person.
That's another good point. So when I had friends that were doing Ozempic and, when I had lost my weight, I had lost quite a lot of weight quite fast. And they kept saying to me, well, I can't get past this level. And I actually started alternating because the body gets used to one thing.
One type, yeah.
But that was on the GLP-1s.
Right.
On the GLP-3s, you don't need to do that, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's, a lot of people start with the GLP-3s and they notice, wow, this is like a miracle. It just starts working even faster. I think they just had a study out on it that a lot of people dropped out of the study because they were losing too much weight on it. So it has to be dosed correctly, right? And like you were talking to earlier, if you're drinking on it, et cetera, it'll punish you.
Yeah.
Any of those, it'll punish you the next day and you won't feel good. You'll get the acid reflux, the nausea, et cetera. Or if you eat a big sugary dessert or a lot of meals and you just overindulge, it will punish you the next day.
Yeah, that's another thing because I think that was one side effect that I noticed that sometimes you get a drop in sugar or insulin, you can feel quite dizzy.
Sure.
And then you just have to go and drink a Coke or eat a piece of cake or something like that, which is bizarre because, obviously at this point we're trying to lose weight, but it actually does regulate you and bring you back down. I mean, I live and I always take it with me wherever I'm traveling, Tums and things like this for antacid, just in case you get hit by it. That's the biggest sort of side effect I've seen. Is that,
and that's why I tell people maybe you should microdose. If that dose is too big for you, whatever GLP it is, break it in half, do it twice a week, or break it into a thirds and do it 3 times a week, or whatever it is, so your body doesn't get hit all at once with such a big dose, right? You can kind of ease into it with the, microdosing it instead.
Another thing I get a lot is obviously the cost of peptides.
Yes.
So, people ask me, it's one of the biggest questions, and everyone's like, oh, it's so expensive. And it is.
It is.
There's no two ways around it. It is.
Right.
What are people looking at just for, like, if they wanted to do NAD every month? And I mean, testosterone is very expensive, isn't
Yes,
it?
it can be. And it's not necessarily the product itself. It's the monitoring, it's the blood work, it's kind of the following everybody. It's almost like you're entering into a concierge practice. Now, I tell people you shouldn't be buying this stuff like online and trying to do it and dose it all yourself.
Well, that's the other thing.
Yeah, you
because
want to do it on
online, I see it a lot.
Right.
So, and I get asked which ones to buy, and it doesn't really work like that.
Yeah, it's going to depend on the person. Listen, if it's going to depend on your goals, not everybody's the same. It really depends. You could be spending hundreds of dollars, you could be spending thousands of dollars. But I always tell people you're really investing in yourself when it comes to longevity medicine, right? And you're investing with the doctor to follow you. It's
You kind of need to find the doctor and the product in your budget. There is just
Correct.
There's nothing, there's no two ways around it until the medical
establishment
starts recognizing them. There is a big cost to them. And as you said, you can get synthetic ones, you can get bioidentical ones, which is the ones we use, which are more expensive. But I suppose it's when you look at it, like it's like a facelift. It's like plastic surgery. You can go to a doctor and anywhere in Turkey or wherever and get a facelift for $10,000, or you can go to Beverly Hills or New York for $300,000. You need to find what suits you and what you can afford to do. There are many levels of getting NAD.
Right.
There are, I don't know about testosterone. You can take things orally, which are cheaper.
Sure.
But then, they're not as direct. I would say that you don't need to take all of the things at once that I am taking.
Correct.
And you can build up, but it is a commitment.
It's really a commitment. And it's really, this is what I tell people. Listen, you need to go see your doctor. And let's say you're suffering from hot flashes, weight gain, low libido. I'm not going to tell you peptides are going to fix everything. You probably are more of a candidate for hormone replacement therapy. And we should start with that first, get you over your symptoms, and then we can add things later. Because it's really dependent on the person and what they're going through. Like ladies going through menopause or perimenopause, let's address that first. And then we can do the cherry on top, the icing on the cake with the other stuff. But let's get you feeling better first. Let's get your hormones more balanced. And then we can add stuff later if we need to.
I would actually urge most ladies to go that route anyway, regardless, because unless you've addressed your hormones really and got them to the right level, I do feel that most of the problems we have are related to hormones.
Absolutely.
And to actually regulating them in the right way. And the other is the cherry.
Yes.
Right? You could live without it if you can't afford to continue. I don't think you should live without the hormones particularly.
Right. I think it makes the biggest impact when you replace a guy's testosterone and he's tired, he's getting the belly, he just feels like doing nothing, he feels like an old man. Testosterone's going to have the biggest effect, I think, on them. Once you replace that, they feel young again. They have the energy. And the same with women, too. If you're having the hot flashes, vaginal dryness, mood changes, irritability, all that, and we replace the hormones first, it's going to have the biggest impact, more so than the peptides would.
I mean, I have a very young husband, and that was one of the biggest changes for my sexual desire, I suppose. Because as a woman in her late 40s with 3 kids, and he was obviously in his 20s, he needed much more than I did. And, I don't know, I think women get so wrapped up in the day, it becomes like a chore.
Right.
And there's something about this, whatever this does, is it takes you back to when you were in your 20s.
Right.
Like, it's on your mind.
Sure.
You wake up and think about it, which is not something that, women tend to do all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
You know, you run home for it, which is amazing. And again, ladies, it sounds superficial, but it's not.
It's not.
Because what it does is sets your mood and tone for the day. It, what does sex do for the body?
Right. Well, also this though, think about it, because you're also rekindling and the intimacy it's the relationship part too.
Yeah.
It's not just the desire to have sex. It's like the intimacy's back between you two. But what sex does for the body, it's first and foremost, it's a good workout, right? It helps our endorphins release. It's a stress relief. It helps create the bond between two people. So all these things are really important. And I tell people when they start hormone replacement therapy, I warn them, if we get you started and your libido goes high, you're going to leave the other one in the dust. You both need to be on the same level. And so, women will drag their husbands in, or husbands will drag their, significant others in. And so it's got to be on the same level, because you're going to blow the other person out of the water once you get this.
And we're laughing because, at the same time, it really is like, why do people have affairs? Why? It's the excitement, it's the fun, it's it brings you back to sort of chasing each other around the bedroom. And I can't tell you how important that is after many, many years, because if you still find the other person irritating and the things aren't going right, normally you can fix things by the connection that you have in the bedroom together. And if you don't have any of that, that's when you surpass, and it's really divorce.
You become roommates, like you said.
You become roommates,
like you said, yeah.
And if you can connect this, men don't tend to look around, ladies, because they're satisfied at home, and vice versa, nor do we. And, I think all of these things are very, very, very important as a couple to discuss. My husband, and I don't know, it's very funny because he's so much younger, obviously, but, has made such a point of reading about menopause and reading about these things and learning, why my moods maybe go from 100 to 1,000 and change every day and all of this. And I think older men tend not to look at it. They just go, they don't understand or read about it or haven't taken an interest in it. And I think now peptides are making everybody readdress things and talk about them. And, I was away just now with a whole load of friends who'd never heard of it, and have fallen down the rabbit hole of looking into it. And as I said, out of all the things that I did my radio show the other day with Jeff Lewis about, that was the only questions I got.
Really?
Yeah, the peptides. Everyone wanted to know what I was on because I look healthy. I mean, you know how many people I've sent to you because they just, why? Not only because of the way I look, right?
Right.
Which is, I'm a normal person. I'm 50 this year and I've got energy. My skin is glowing. And that's not down to a facelift too. Obviously, you have other factors as well. You can do lasers and all of these things, but it all goes hand in hand.
Right.
You can't, texture of your skin, the losing the fine lines and wrinkles, all of these things.
Right. I think you make a good point because, before we were all focused on Botox fillers and lasers and all that and plastic surgery. We're taking care of things from the outside, but now we're starting to look at how do we fix things from the inside out? Because that's really what you need. You need that structure from the inside out to look healthier, not only look healthier, but also feel healthier. So, I tell people if you're getting a facelift, you're going through plastic surgery, you also want to make sure we're slowing down the aging process so you keep your results longer, or maybe we can prevent, things from getting worse, right? So that's why we want to do the hormones and the peptides to help your body just be healthier overall.
And, the longevity of how we're living today, most people are surviving now into their 90s, well into their 90s. You want to feel good with you. You don't get the joint pain.
Right.
It helps minimize hair loss, stomach. I just can't tell you enough about it, how much it's changed my life. And, again, I am sure at some point the medical industry will have to take a good look at it and restructure it for people because heart disease is going down.
Yes.
Cognitive disease is going down.
Right.
They actually prescribe some of these peptides for heart disease.
Yes.
Blood thinning, I saw. If you're getting Parkinson's. Dementia.
Yeah.
They are looking at all of these things.
Right.
Will they be available ever on Insurance, I don't know.
It's hard to say. I think, but all those things can be taken care of a lot of times with just the hormone parts of it as well. Because I know peptides may be difficult to access, but at least the hormones help with dementia, heart disease, bone loss. Women go to get osteoporosis; their bones get brittle because they lose their hormones. Their bones aren't mineralizing; they're losing muscle. So really, by replacing the hormones, you're feeding your bones muscle again. Especially people who are losing more muscle if they're on the GLPs, right? So we want to make sure you retain all that muscle, and I think hormones are really a good starting place to keep all of that
And
healthy.
that is also a good point. So you must also do weights while you're doing this. You don't need to do
100%.
running.
Right.
You don't need to do all the cardio as much, And as I said, sustaining
Resistance training. Yep.
Resistance
training.
Yeah.
You got to do it. You have to do it.
So, I get a little video online and, everything from just even push-ups with your own body weight.
Yeah.
You don't need to have a lot of equipment. You don't need to do 40-minute workouts. I do 20-minute workouts. If you
Yes.
keep it daily, even 3 times a week, you do your own body resistance. You can have a little set of hand weights. It really doesn't need to be complicated. And I promise you, ladies, you will get, and men watching, you will get a better result than you did with an hour in the gym, really pushing yourself hard.
Right.
And that's what's so incredible to me. Like, as I said, I feel more alive. I have a great relationship with my husband. My stomach is flat finally, and I struggled with that my whole life. And, I truly think this is a miracle, and they are not going away.
They're not going to go away. Now, I think we're starting to make some strides in our government. I know RFK and the FDA, they recently took the black box warning off hormones for women, which was amazing. RFK, I know he's pushing for a lot of these alternative therapies as well that I think really, truly help. It's a matter of, can the big pharma, can the medical industry make money off of this? And that's really why we're being held back, I think, a lot of times, unfortunately.
I mean, but many things that we've seen that have been innovative and forward thinking have taken this kind of time. And the more we speak about them, the more people ask for them, and the more people look at what's possible,
Right.
then, they'll have to reassess at some point, keeping you on traditional drugs and over-prescribing these kind of drugs rather than looking at bringing you back to optimum health.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at the alcohol industry is now suffering so
tanked.
much,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
people want a different life. And this is a different way of looking at it. And we're still in very backwards societal times where people don't like change. They
Right.
don't.
Right.
And, with the funny thing about peptides is it all seems too easy.
Yes,
You
yes,
know?
it is. But I think, you're also saying that, the alcohol industry is going down because I think there's more awareness now through social media about health, and people want to be healthy now. The younger generation isn't drinking and spending money on alcohol. They're spending more money on their health, red light therapy, all these different like biohacking things now versus just spending on alcohol. And alcohol is like one of the worst things that you can, if you drink too much, that you can take. It's like the biggest ager, I should say. It causes aging more so than anything when you drink too much alcohol. It's like a toxin that you're putting in your body, and your body has to try to get rid of it. It makes you age quicker, et cetera. That's why I don't even drink at all, but I get side effects from it. But
And it's not
Yeah.
too late to start.
Right.
Okay. It's
Never
not
too
too
late.
late. You can stop and start now. And I think, that's the point. You can change your life and look into these things, see what's available, and get going. And I really, really can't recommend it enough myself personally. But thank you, Dr. Asandra, for joining us today. That was really something everybody has been asking me about. And I please tell everybody how to
Yeah.
reach you, how to find you.
Sure. Thank you. Well, thank you for having me, Carolyn. And you can find me online, asandramd.com, or ASANDRAMD.com, or Asandra MD on Instagram as well. That's where I usually post a lot of my videos on longevity, et cetera. But just look me up on there.
And I'd just like to say, actually, because I know you're LA based, and this is a problem we have quite a lot because so many of my followers want to find you,
Sure.
and a lot of people, Europe's quite behind still. So what can they do? They can have an online consultation.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a matter of, can they get if let's say I don't know if they need, hormones or peptides, whatever it is do they have access to it? So sometimes it can be difficult, especially in Europe. I don't think they have it there. I know Dubai is starting to kind of break the mold there and starting to evolve a little bit. And so is Asia. But yeah, we can always do an online consult, or I can always try to recommend a doctor in your area that I trust and work with. And I think we're really on the grounds here, groundbreaking innovations with medicine, and I'm just so happy that people like you are taking notice of it.
So what are some of the biggest symptoms for women in their 50s going through menopause?
Yeah, so one of the first things they tell me a lot of times, and not everybody gets this: hot flashes, brain fog, low energy, night sweats, vaginal dryness, which is devastating on a relationship, depression sometimes even, or they're working out at the gym and they're just not getting the results, or they're feeling more sore. Those are some of the biggest symptoms that I see initially when someone starts going through menopause and when they've gone through menopause.
And for this, what advice would you give women? Hormones or peptides?
I would start with a lab test to determine where their hormones are at, and then start with hormones first. And like I said, we can always add the peptides later, but we need to address the main symptoms that you're feeling right now and improve your energy, your libido, your brain fog, etc. Let's take care of that first with the hormones, and then we can add things later.
So ladies, there is no reason anymore to suffer in silence. All of these symptoms are treatable. And I think we have been told for so long that we have to live with them. You do not have to live with them. Thank you for listening to another episode of Uncut and Uncensored. And don't forget to subscribe.